Today's episode of Valley View with Austin Reed is made possible with support from the United Conservatory of Music in Fresno and by Laura Young with Guarantee Real Estate, also in Fresno.
Now from Channel 49, this is Valley View, covering the issues that matter most to you in Central California. Here's your host, Austin Reed.
Great to see you again. Welcome to Valley View, a brand new edition. I'm Austin Reed, coming to you from our Tower District studios inside the Mike Briggs building. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Austin Reed on Air. Over the next 30 minutes, my guest today will be Messianic Rabbi Brent Woods, and he is with us today in studio. Welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. You know, we have been conversing over the last 4 months or so to get you on here, and you guys have been super busy.
We have been.
But it's a new year now, so Happy New Year.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you.
Now, Rabbi, first off, let's begin with your story. Mm-hmm. You were raised in Riverside, right? Born and raised in Riverside area?
Born in Los Angeles, raised in Riverside County.
Okay.
Yeah, then spent about after high school, some college, moved to San Diego, met my wife, been married for 27 plus years, have 2 wonderful children, and we've been involved in ministry at some level or another for about almost 30 years. Yes. Yeah.
Now, the congregation here in Fresno, which is on Shaw.
It is.
The full name is?
It's Emek, Elohim, Messianic Congregation.
Okay. And that is, 2 years old now, right?
Coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
There are certain things that you think are never going to end in life. Mm-hmm. And then they do, and you have to decide what's your next step and where do you continue to go. We found ourselves at one of those times in life, and it was time for us to start a congregation. We had a lot of local support between family and friends that we have made in the area. And so when we launched the congregation, it was during COVID, which was probably not the best time in the natural to do it, but being led by the Lord, we did so, and we've been blessed and growing. We have a great support of the foundation, the people who are the foundation of the congregation we have, and that's basically the story. It's taking things a day at a time, from Shabbat to Shabbat. That's been our motto. With everything going on you see in the world, we just Shabbat to Shabbat, loving one another, loving the Lord, and moving forward to Jerusalem together. Yeah.
You went to Israel
A couple times.
What was that like?
The first time we went, it was, being the first time, it's different than the times after, but it was a wonderful experience of all the things we got to see, seeing the places where Messiah was, where the prophets walked, the ancient sites, the biblical sites. The second time we went was during COVID, and we literally were there when it had broken out in Asia in particular, just before it got into Italy, into France. And very long story short, we were, I think, the second to last group that got there that actually was able to, see the land. After that, we barely made it out. We had to fly through Paris. When we did, they were taking temperatures and asking if you'd been sick, the whole thing. We had gotten sick in Jerusalem, and so we were thankful to make it home. But being there for any believer, whether Christian or Jewish, Messianic Jewish, being there and seeing the places in the Bible, it opens up things in a way that just reading the scriptures will never do. So that's we had a wonderful experience, in particular for me, going to Masada, which is not the place where most people say that's where I want to go. But the Lord had been dealing with me prior to going there that he would talk to me on Masada, which he did, and it was connected to things that were coming. And a lot of it has to do with, I believe, with the COVID situation and the situation we find everyone on earth right now is dealing with the realities. And the message was, are you willing to go on and continue to do the things I've called you to do? Because we remember the people on Masada, they had some very harsh decisions to make. And so not to stay negative with that, but the whole idea is, the world has entered into a time of there's tribulation, there are problems, there are things that I don't know anyone who's ever seen this before or thought in their lifetime they would see the type of things that we're seeing now. So, so the trip to Israel was very cathartic in that it opened up things that not going never would have. Yeah.
Now, the second time that you went,
yes,
what is it because, the first time was just so overwhelming, but the second time, I would imagine it's more of you're able to kind of dive deeper?
Absolutely. And, at the time, that was the plan. Mm-hmm. However, when COVID hit, that, like everything else, it changed some things. But we were able to see some things the second time we weren't able to see the first time. We did go back to some places for the second time, the third time, going to the Kotel, the Wailing Wall, and being there, going on the Temple Mount and being there. The second time was different. I looked at things different. Whenever you do something multiple times, there's always that progression of thought and understanding and the inner questions inside. What does this make you feel? What does it make you think? Those type of things. So it was wonderful. And we would have gone back again and again and again. That's our plan. So, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the community here in Central California as far as the support thus far.
The support so far has been great. We have support in the Messianic community, also within the Christian community. And where I guess kind of our mission really is to be that bridge between the Jewish community and the Christian community, because we sit right in the middle. We have Christians who they see the Jewishness of what we're doing and they don't understand certain things. We have the Jewish community looks at us and they see some of the things that look Christian to them, so they don't quite understand. But we're open to both sides to come, to be a part, to experience what we're doing, and really to do what the Father said was to love the Lord your God and to love your neighbor as yourself, and to bring that connection together, just loving one another as the Lord would have us.
Coming up, we are gonna. I want to dive deeper into the differences, because obviously we've got the Orthodox Jews, and so we'll dive into that, and then I also want to hear more just about what a day in the life is like for you. So
absolutely.
We're talking to Rabbi Woods. I'm Austin Reed. You're watching Valley View. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Continue blowing, a few seconds more, hang in there.
My name is Tara Burke, and I'm from Sarnia, Ontario, and I'm 22 years old. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder, so I was born with it. In your day-to-day life, cystic fibrosis would kind of make things more difficult to do your regular activities because your lungs don't function properly. So it's like you've run a 400-meter sprint, and you're at the end and you're kind of trying to catch your breath, and you cannot quite take in enough air at one moment to catch your breath. That's what it felt like to brush my teeth. And your digestive system doesn't work properly, so you have to take pills to help digest your food so that you're getting all the nutrients and the fats out of it. I had a double lung transplant February 1st, 2012. When I was in grade 12, my lung function started to drop, and I ended up spending the next year and a half in and out of hospital. My weight was dropping, and eventually the doctors determined that I was in end-stage function for CF in my lungs, and the only treatment for that is a double lung transplant.
Listen.
All it took was someone who would insist that I just try.
Suddenly everything was turned around because they judge you.
You tell them, I don't need this.
No one is going to understand.
Unless they've been through it, how can they?
Then one day you realize,
You feel so hopeless.
I need help. I need help.
You feel so hopeless.
Then one day you realize,
Unless they've been through it, how can they understand?
I don't need this.
No one's going to judge you.
suddenly everything was turned around because they insist that I just try.
All it took was someone who would just
listen.
Today's episode of Valley View with Austin Reed is made possible with support from the United Conservatory of Music in Fresno and by Laura Young with Guarantee Real Estate, also in Fresno.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I am Austin Reed. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Austin Reed On Air. Valley View is with you every single day here on Channel 49. We are going to continue our conversation today with Rabbi Brent Woods. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
We are talking about your congregation.
Yes.
And it's 2 years old.
Yes.
You are under the Messianic, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how is that different compared to, say, Orthodox Judaism or Jews for Jesus? Like, what sets you guys apart?
What sets up, Jews for Jesus, they're part of the Messianic movement, which is basically the understanding and the belief that Yeshua, we call him Yeshua, the world calls him Jesus, is the Messiah of Israel. Whereas the Orthodox, they don't believe that. However, we do share the history, we do share the Torah, we share the writings of the prophets, the sages. So those things we share. It's in a basic form. Messianic Judaism is Judaism with Messiah Yeshua, the continuance of that. Okay. Whereas Christianity is more along the line of a love and acceptance of Jesus, which is wonderful, without really as much connection to the writings and the Torah. There's more of a looser connection.
Okay.
It's not as important of a connection as it is to the Jews. To us, it's just a continuance of what Messiah's people had done up to he came. He said he showed he was Messiah. He died. And that continued. The apostles, they were Jewish. They had received Messiah. They hadn't changed and become a different religion. They were just Jews that continued in Judaism through their Messiah, Yeshua. You see this as evidenced by the fact that they continue to go to synagogue. They continue to be in community with their families, with their friends. And then later on we see in Scripture where you have, Rabbi Shaul, the Apostle Paul, he went out still as a Messianic Jewish man. He never renounced Judaism. He never became, people say he became a Christian or he converted. He didn't convert. He was always Rabbi Shaul to the Jews. And to the Gentiles, they named him Paul. So that continued. That's one of the bigger misunderstandings between Christianity and Messianic Judaism, and even Judaism, is this idea that once Jesus, Yeshua came, that everything changed and it stopped. Whereas we don't believe that. We believe it just continued through him. Mm-hmm. He was the living Torah. He was the one who came to show not only Jews but Gentiles, anyone who would call upon the God of Israel, how to keep Torah, how to live a life pleasing to the Father.
So I'll share, just a personal story.
Yes.
My mom is Jewish,
Okay.
and so which technically makes me a full Jew.
Yes, yes.
Now I went to synagogue when I was a kid.
Okay.
And my dad's side Catholic.
Yeah,
So
okay.
people call me a cashew, Catholic Jewish. But for me, looking at the bigger picture of religion, personally, I love your guys' take on things because you're not closed-minded.
No.
Is that a fair assessment?
We're not, well, we're closed-minded to certain things.
Okay.
We're very open-minded to the Torah, to what the instruction God gave. That was never to come to an end, and he never said this is ended because Messiah came. You have people say, well, Jesus came and he paid it all and that's it. Well, he paid it all as an example, so you can continue to be pleasing to God because of Messiah. We're not living to fulfill Torah as a commandment for salvation. Jesus said, if you love me, you will do what? Keep my commandments. Well, what commandments is he referring to? The commandments that were given by the Father. So we look at that and say, it's just a continuance. It's not an end to it. Right. Yeah.
Do you, for you, you said that you grew up in Christianity, right?
I grew up Catholic, then became Christian.
Okay.
And then through that process became Messianic. Yeah.
Talk about that process quickly.
Oh, well, I'm not Jewish, although I do have some Jewish DNA, which a lot of people do. That's not a real... but for me personally, growing up Catholic, a lot of my family did. I'm Creole from Louisiana, where Louisiana is basically a Catholic state. And so that being said, having grown up in the Catholic Church, we weren't by any means, what I would call very good Catholics, but we did go to Mass here and there and whatnot. But there wasn't an emphasis on Messiah, on the Father, on the Scriptures, and then the Scriptures being lived through Messiah. That wasn't the emphasis was on the saints and Miriam, Mary, Jesus' mother. That was the emphasis. With that in mind, I did, receive Messiah, and at the time, in a Christian way, as Jesus, which very common to do. Through that, in 1996, I heard my first Messianic Jewish rabbi speak in a congregation in San Diego.
Okay.
And it just blew my mind, the things he was saying that connected Judaism to Messiah in a way that I had never heard before. Because everything, from our understanding and our belief, everything points to Messiah. The forbidden chapter, Isaiah 54, points to Messiah. So I went on it from there, basically went on a journey to be Messianic. And the days that we're living in are different than they were 15 or 20 years ago. There weren't many Messianic congregations in the U.S. or in Israel, for that matter, in the mid-'90s. Now there's hundreds and growing exponentially.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So having friends, Messianic believers, friends, we have Messianic believers all over the world, in the land, all in the U.S., all over the place, and the movement is growing exponentially.
And you're part of that. Here in Central California.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about just some of the things throughout the year that you guys do.
Okay.
And we'll kind of, get a better look at a day in your life.
All right.
You're watching Valley View. I'm Austin Reed. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edith Bracho Sanchez with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. The stress created by the COVID-19 pandemic can wear anyone down, but teens may have a especially hard time. Feeling depressed or angry may be signs they need more support. Remember, parents set the tone at home, so try to stay positive, keep the lines of communication open, and talk with your pediatrician if you have any concerns. For more, visit healthychildren.org.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
I'm Austin Reed, coming to you from our Tower District studios inside the Mike Briggs building. Welcome.
Century Salon in Old Town Clovis.
Okay, and you guys are in that new two-story
Yes,
building,
right on Clovis Avenue.
Originally, Oh My Crepes, this is something that we've been wanting to do for a while now.
We are talking about the Fresno Freeze now, women's soccer. And joining us in our Tower District studios is Kevin.
Stephanie D'Angio, and she's here for Mardi Gras.
I
Stephanie.
am. Thank you for having me.
Ken joining us live via Zoom, an author. Ken, welcome back to Central Valley Talk.
Yeah, 321book.shop.
Well, a good update is that the market is still hot, just like the weather here in the Central Valley.
This is Newsmakers, and I'm Mike Briggs. We've been coming to you every year for about 13 years, talking about the news and talking to people in the news and people who make the news. We have a special guest, Fresno County Supervisor Buddy Mendez. Welcome, Supervisor.
Well, thank you, Mike.
My next guest is Darren Redmond, the Executive Director of Pain, Parents, and Addicts in Need, one of my new best friends here in the Central Valley.
Yes.
With Austin Reed, this is Valley View.
We appreciate you staying with us. I'm Austin Reed, and this is Valley View. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Austin Reed on Air. We are having a great conversation today with Messianic Rabbi Brent Woods. And Brent, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our last segment, we have a lot to talk about. I want to go over a little bit about what it's like at your congregation and kind of walk us through all the things that you're working on.
Well, personally, the congregation is gradually more and more of my efforts are connected with the congregation. I also run a business personally, but that's less and less, and I'm focused more and more on the congregation. We meet every Shabbat at 2 o'clock. We have what we call Messianic Life Roundtable. Lasts for about an hour, it's like a Bible study, but we talk about all things Judaism, Israel, Messianic Judaism, even some Christian topics that are not just things of historical things, but think current events. We talk about what's going on in Israel right now, and I believe that a connection to Israel, if you're a believer, or if you're Jewish, a connection to Israel has to be, if you're disconnected from Israel, it'll have a negative effect. There's things that having a connection to Israel, to the people, to the Jewish people, to the land, will do for you that not having, if you don't have that, you're missing out. But we meet at 2 o'clock for that. 3 o'clock, we have a service from 3 to 6, which includes, we have a Torah portion, we have a message, we have praise and worship, we have some liturgy, we have oneg, which is like a potluck or meal together, breaking bread together to end Shabbat. And that goes for about 2 hours. So we're there sometimes for 6 or 8 hours, just loving God, loving one another, and fellowshipping.
And enjoying some good matzah.
Yes, yes.
If you haven't tried matzah, you're missing out. I'll just leave it at that, okay?
Matzah and challah.
That's right. Yep,
Yes.
yep. Okay, tell me a little bit about if somebody's watching today and they're thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe I'd like to give you guys a chance. Why have them come out?
Well, I believe that we're living, as most of you can see, with COVID and everything going on, and even aside from COVID, there's a lot of things going on in the world constantly, and it seems like these things are escalating. And you hear this idea, people will use a term, and you hear it more and more now, something happened of biblical proportion. With that in mind, I believe it's very important for as we enter into these days, as we live through these days, to talk to God, ask Him, what is He telling you? What is His message to you? What is your relationship like with Him? What is your relationship with the house of Israel at large? So for us, come visit. Whether you are Jewish or Gentile, whether you believe in that Yeshua, Jesus, is Messiah or not, come. We'd love to have you come with us, fellowship with us, and just come and be with us. And these decisions are between you and the Father. They're not between you and us. But we'll welcome you. Our tent is wide open to come. We say, come on in. We meet every Shabbat. We have new people all the time. We get a lot of people who are searchers and seekers, and they're wondering, and they want to ask questions. So we answer a lot of questions, and
then, of course, on the high holidays,
yes,
you guys have you do a whole. I mean, it's a whole thing.
We do, and we're doing more. We do, starting in the spring, we do a Pesach, a Passover Seder. We celebrate Purim. We come dressed up and read through Esther, and we do all, Shavuot, everything we do. We set up a sukkah every year, a community sukkah, to help those who can't do it or unable to do it. They can fulfill that mitzvah, come to the congregation. We've got a sukkah. Right. And that attracts a lot of people, the holy days. Yes.
People can learn more, of course, online. What's the website?
It is emekelohim.org.
Okay, perfect. And then 559-907-3322. Am I reading that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us. Great conversation. I think a lot of people watching today learned a lot.
I hope so. That's a blessing.
That's our whole goal. So, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next time. Come back anytime, okay?
Thank you for having me.
All right, very good. I'm Austin Reed. That's going to do it for Valley View. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.